big thank you to all of you, customers, partners, who have made time to come here and participate in Inner Circle 2023. We are deeply grateful and we feel very happy that you made time for us. Right? Along with me here is Babu, who is the chairman for Carestack on the board. So I had to invite him here so that he could just see how we have come along over the years. That Babu was one of the very early investors in Carestack when we were nothing more than a piece of paper, and so I just wanted him to have his presence here. Yeah, a little bit of background about Babu. He can probably fill you guys on it.
All right. Thank you so much. This is so much fun. I didn't expect when Abhi said we're having our second conference or Inner Circle. I didn't expect it to be this big. I thought it would be like 40, 50 people, and this is what it is all about. I have seen this company, this idea on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, and how far it has come. And I've always wondered, why is dentistry so far behind? Every other industry, you go, transformation is happening, a lot of things happening, a lot of improvements, and then go into a dental office, you still find desktop software. And that has to change, right? What is possible in every, when you talk about the consumer, what is possible wherever you go, right? And that kind of transformation, consumers today are used to so much of, experience, flexibility, capabilities, and you want to bring that to every industry that is possible. And my background is, I've been an entrepreneur all my life, so I grew up in the same city that Carestack, a lot of Carestack team is based, and a lot of the creativity is happening from there. I grew up there, and that's the only city I've seen until I came to US. And I came to US because if you're a graduate in computer science degree, and if you're from place that Abhi and I grew up, you leave, right? There's nothing else there because it's a tourist town. Now, how many of you have been to Trivandrum or Kerala? Well, we all need to be there. I look forward to one day where the Inner Circle is right there in Trivandrum. It's a great place to be there, right? And so I came to the US with a singular mission that I want to do something about that, because you leave your home place where you can't find a job. And so came to the Bay Area. I started working as a consultant, set up a small team in my hometown, very passionate about doing something there. The team grew. I couldn't support it with one job, so I ended up taking one more because I knew nobody in the country at that time. And then the teams continued to grow, right? Then I had to take one more job. So for about 18 months, I did 6 to 11:30, 12 to 5, 5:30 to 12, and in that process, we created some phenomenal companies. So I was a founder with a company called Stamps.com. I don't know how many of you know about Stamps.com. We figured out a way to print postage directly and put money on the cloud, and took it public back in '98, and then started another company, which is the largest wealth management company in the country. It's called InvestNet. 20 years there, and I'm along the way got a phenomenal opportunity to work with founders like Abhi. So I've been, I'm somebody who liked to spend time in the garage, right? So that's where a lot of the creativity, a lot of innovation is happening, and extremely excited. I couldn't have been prouder to see this team, this Abhi and Arjun and Varun. I've seen these guys operate with a total focus on the dentist office. Everything they talk about, the kind of attention to detail that they bring together. That's gratifying to watch, and he has a lot. He's going to unveil a lot more today. So without further ado, bring back to Abhi.
Babu, thanks for the opening. Yeah. So guys, I wanted to start off this session with giving you, by sharing an experience that I had while I was back in India last year, right? And it happens to be at my neighborhood convenience store, okay? So the mom and pop stores that sell daily items and groceries and vegetables. So for those of you who don't know, what a small convenience store in India looks like, it's called as the Kirana store, right? It's hardly 100 square foot in size. Sometimes it could go as high as 250 square foot. There are somewhere between 20 million Kirana stores, somewhere between 12 and 20 Kirana stores in India. Okay? Most of the food products are, daily used items, grocery, vegetables. The owners hardly have more than, they've not been quite well educated, right? And it's largely a family business that has been passed over to them. Right? So that's the context of a Kirana store. So my experience goes like this, right? So on a Saturday, I visited the neighborhood store to buy a certain bag of rice, which belonged to a certain brand. Right? It's around noon or so, right? And the stock was not there, right? The shopkeeper's name, his name is Samir. He's like 58 years old, right? And the store belonged to his grandfather. Then it was run by his father, and then he inherited it, right? So, Samir and I basically talked for some time, and I said, okay, I'll come back tomorrow and buy the stock back from buy the bag from you. And I left the place, right? And it was nice catching up with Samir after a while. So at around 9 p.m. at night, I get a knock on my door, and it's Samir there with that bag of rice. So you have worked all the way from 7 in the morning on a Saturday, closed the shop at 8, and then traveled out just to buy that bag of rice and then come back and drop it at my home. And then we sat, had a coffee, and talked for some time. And, that was very, very, I was touched, right? And I kind of asked Samir as to why he wanted to do this at 9 in the night on a Saturday. A 58-year-old guy has to do all this. And I would still go to the store tomorrow, And Samir was telling me that when he watched me walk out of the store empty-handed, he felt like a sharp pain, right? Because the store belonged to his grandfather, and then his father inherited it, and then now he continues to run it. And watching a customer go back empty-handed, that was very painful to watch, and he felt it like a hit on his pride, right? That he could not, get over it. He was just obsessed the whole day, right? And it was bothering him so much that if he had not dropped the bag of rice at my house, he wouldn't sleep that night, right? So that's the story. So that got me hooked on, Kirana stores, and I've been working with a couple of these guys over the years. I mean, especially last year, I have been, interacting with them more closely. And India as such has had humongous push on the e-commerce side in the last 20 years. You've got Walmart there, Amazon there. 3 years back, Walmart bought India's largest e-commerce business for 20 billion. And so much money is basically being spent on these e-commerce businesses, right? They are, tech-enabled. They have all the infrastructure that's needed in the world. They have the last mile delivery capabilities. But in the food and delivery, grocery business, 90% of the market is still held by these small Kirana stores, which have none of it, right? 4% is the market share that has gone to the e-commerce platforms, and the 6% is basically with the more organized retail businesses, but 90% of business happens in the Kirana store, okay? So, couple of lessons to pick, and that will lead to why we call this conference as championing customer obsession, right? So, lesson number one, it's not all about the money, right? Like these guys, it's an existential need for them to basically be profitable, because if they don't take money back home, they're not going to put food on the table, right? While that continues to be the case, they would do things which is directly against profitability, just so that they don't experience the same pain that Samir experienced when I went back home without having that bag of rice, right? So while they might count pennies on the floor, at the very core of their existence is that intent to make sure that the customer does not walk back home empty-handed, and they will choose to do things that totally goes against the lines of profitability. The second bit is the personalization bit, right? So when we walk into a Kirana store and you interact with the shopkeepers and you talk to them, they just know most of the things about my life, right? For example, Samir knows where I stay, how many members in the family, where my kids study, which school they go to, was there a recent event in the family, a public event that I've been to, all sorts of things. What do I buy on a month? What are the brands I like? And these insights do not come from data analytics reports. These comes from hundreds of casual interactions that we have had over the years. And hundreds of consumers who are walking into the store talking, and he would hand a toffee to the kid, talk to the kid, keep the name of the kid in his memory, and remember it all the way through long, right? So the extent of personalization is so huge that I don't think software can replicate what Samir can do serving his customers when it comes to personalization. And it's all built around casual interactions. Okay? So personalization is a standout function when you engage with a shop owner in a Kirana store. A 58-year-old guy, the owner of the store, he could have very well had one of his boys basically deliver it to me, right? But he chose to, drive almost for like 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes of drive, and it was lightly drizzling that day. He came home, dropped it, right? So it's customer service is not really a department. It's bottom up. It's everybody's job in a Kirana store, right? And there are some streets where you have Kirana stores which exist very closely to one another, right? These stores are all packed on the street, right next to each other. They don't perceive each other as competition. They work very closely with one another. They are not competition focused at all. They're very, very customer focused, right? So they can work. Suppose I walk into a store which is on a street and which has other stores next to it, and I ask for a brand of soap and they don't have it, they might as well go to the next store, buy it, sometimes even make a loss on that product, but still serve me, right? So the intent is to really coexist while competing, right? So that ultimately the customer wins, okay? And these stores are consistent, which means even when COVID happened, the stores were open. It opens at 7, it closes at 8. And you have the shopkeeper who is there receiving you with a smiling face. And the experience is so consistent. I walk into the store after 6 months, we will just catch up where we left 6 months back and talk for like 15, 20 minutes. So what it comes down to, what I could really figure out was this is probably one of the highest forms of customer obsession, right? Simply put, these guys have earned their right to thrive because they are really, really obsessed about the customer. Not because they went to management schools, sat through master classes, leadership lessons, none of that. It's just an existential need for them to be so customer focused and so customer obsessed, right, that they continue to thrive against the organized forms of business. So that's our theme, right? And so I've been talking to all of our folks internal to Carestack as to, the need to basically move away from a customer-centric company to a customer-obsessed company, right? And customer centricity is not good enough. We have to really move the needle as a team to basically become like a customer-obsessed company, just like the way Samir serves his clients, right? And it comes down to two things, okay? What do we do from a product standpoint that allows us to serve our customers such that they don't have to go back home empty-handed, right? So there are three things that we have done. We're continuing to do this year. We started it last year, and we're treading down that path. And that is in terms of elevating our bag of offerings to serve our customers deeper and tighter. What it means is we continue to make investments on the core platform when it comes to complete platform optimization. So we are making strategic investments and initiatives around imaging, AI, specialty modules around oral surgery, orthodontics, and continuous improvement on the core workflows so that we can expand on that theme, right? The second bit is, just being an optimization partner is not good enough, and therefore we have started buying assets and companies which allows Carestack to put a patient into the chair so that we can be direct participants in the growth of the practice, okay? And then dentistry is not a software business, it's a service business, and therefore, beyond revenue cycle management, we are adding a bag of services around call center functions, virtual assistants, things of that sort, a marketplace of functions that touches every aspect of a dental office so that we can continue to serve our clients and do that in a manner which is very customer obsessed, right? So that's what we are doing on the product front, on the product offering front, right? Invest more on creating a platform which truly gives us the brand of a complete practice optimization company, do everything required to put a patient on the chair and become active participants in the practice growth, and create a marketplace that allows us to basically be a cradle-to-grave services delivery partner to our customers. So that's on the product offering side. And that's not just good enough. We have to elevate our customer service culture as well, right? So, we have gone through so much of organization within Carestack in terms of bringing in new people, putting together processes, additional training to the internal team members, focusing on leadership development, all with the intent of creating like cohesive teams which can serve the customer so that customer service is not just limited to customer support, right? And we have made significant progress on multiple fronts which we will share through the course of this day. But all the way from product to support coming together to serve the customer service needs. And it's one team which is really, obsessed about customer success, right? Making the feedback loops tighter when it comes to communication, right? Both from a content perspective and from a, constant communication perspective, how do we make these feedback loops tighter? So that's the other area where we have made progress and we continue to work with a focus on that. And, more access to data when it comes to working with customers at every level. Not just at the product side, but, at the implementation side, at the account management side, at the customer support side. Make our team literally function like a dental office so we can talk your language and we can move in your direction and we can continue to have that degree of resonance that allows us to serve you the way, that I frankly think the industry needs to be served. So our journey, to put it on a nutshell, from a back when we started, we were just a product-centric company, just thinking about a product, being software engineers, and we have had a progression from a product-centric company to a customer-minded company, and then to a customer-centric company, and then, constantly focusing on taking that customer centricity to the next level of customer obsession and being able to successfully pull it off with a team of 600 people and try and push that message and that intent down to the last person. That's the path we are on. 2022 has really done well for us. We have grown significantly in terms of clients' revenue. We have brought in new customers, which are larger DSOs now, like Paradigm and Aspire, so they have given us the vote of confidence last year. We have grown in terms of employee count when it comes to engineering and customer service, which means we have more bandwidth to dedicate for rolling out offerings and for doing additional things to serve customers. We launched new offerings last year, like Carestack Pay, Carestack memberships, which all went through the beta process with a handful of customers, and we'll be sharing those results today. And we are in a very fortunate space of having our strategic partners coming to back Carestack with $80 million of fresh capital to continue to fight and move forward and create a better alternative in the industry to what exists as Henry Schein, right? So we could really push this envelope, bring it all together, and so we are sufficiently venture backed and with participation from our strategic partners in the industry, so we are taken care of there. And last year's Inner Circle was, small at 50 plus people. We had 2 days of focused sessions on the product, and we had tons of feedback. And this year, I think we were expecting 170 plus people, but I think there were some last minute cancellations, but I think it's in the 160 range. We have quite a bit of folks here, so it's a bigger conference, and I think next year will continue to be even bigger. And this conference is really a manifestation of two things for us, okay? One is, the intent that we have is basically to get customer obsessed, and we want our customers to know that that's the direction. That's the mission that we are trying to put in place, that everybody from top to the very first guy on the front line, we are able to build the gene of customer obsession, right? So we want you to understand that that's the intent with which we run the company. The second one is, as you can see, we are very ambitious folks coming from a small town. Our eyes are constantly in the sky, gazing at the stars, but we rely on you guys to keep our feet on the ground, right? We have folks like Ish and so many folks here, who are passionate customers. So please, we look forward to your feedback and critical feedback, and just keep us reined in and our feet on the ground and tell us what's not working, and happy to go home with a bloody lip. That's totally right. And today we will have the first part of the session on the product side, where we will cover all the key topics, very similar to last time. And then we would have the second half basically on the solution side, where we can touch through all things that we have done last year on the services front. And we would also focus on the new solutions and product offerings we are launching out in Q2, give you a demo of all that, and bring you up to speed on the future of where Carestack is going, right? So that's the goal for the day. And so I kind of summarize by saying that this conference is not about us, this conference is about you. And once again, thank you all for making it here. We feel grateful and we feel honored that you are a participant in our journey. Thank you.